Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Ask. Today, our show is Fibromyalgia and Fatigue Center Incorporated. Hurry back and join us. Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Ask. Today we have with us the Fibromyalgia and Fatigue Center Incorporated and staff physician herself, Dr. Mustafa. Good morning, Dr. Mustafa.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here.
Well, I appreciate you asking me to come in to make the public aware of the latest discoveries in fibromyalgia.
Okay. Now, Dr. Mustafa, this is different because we heard an outcry of wanting to have some more information in reference to what is fibromyalgia. So can you start off with telling us basically what is fibromyalgia?
Fibromyalgia is a very complex disease, and it has many symptoms associated with it. For example, patients have chronic pain or muscle stiffness, muscle pain or stiffness, and they might have flu-like symptoms. They can also have something that we call brain fog. You lose your cognitive ability, you lose the sharpness and quickness that you had before. Also associated with it is sleep disorder or insomnia. Some patients have gastrointestinal problems. Lay people know about IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO. And also associated with it is fatigue issues. These people are unable to continue their everyday activities at school, at work, at home, and it really impacts on them. They have recurrent infections, and there are many, many symptoms associated with this.
Okay, wow. So your role there as a staff physician is what?
Well, basically, I became involved with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue from sheer frustration. I've been in practice since 1981, and I would treat generations of families, newborns, family practice, their parents and their parents, generations of families, and you get to know them very well. And I was in practice so long that the newborns were starting to have children. Now, I would have patients coming to me having fatigue issues or pain issues. I would send them to neurologists. I would send them to endocrinologists. I would send them to pain management specialists, and they were always told, there's nothing wrong with you. All your labs are normal. You're depressed. Go see a psychiatrist. And it became very frustrating when I have a gentleman, for example, that can't carry his son up the stairs because of the pain.
Okay.
And that's how I got involved with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue.
So is it something that a physician can't just come up on and say, you have this? I mean, it has to be a certain test or something given?
That's the problem. There is no blood work or blood test that can diagnose it. But the American College of Rheumatology, and I highly recommend patients to go to their website, which is acr.org, came out with a means of diagnosing fibromyalgia way back in 1990.
Okay.
It's called a tender point evaluation. And today the criteria for diagnosing fibromyalgia is having 11 out of 18 tender points and having chronic pain for 3 months or more. It is frustrating in the fact that we do not have a blood test, but we're at a point now where we were about 15 years ago with lupus. Okay. Lupus is an autoimmune disorder. 15 years ago, patients faced the exact same problem. They were told all your lab tests are normal, your physical examination is normal, you're depressed, go to see a psychiatrist. Okay. But there's been a genetic breakthrough.
But a lot of times, some of those symptoms that you mentioned can vary between different types of disorder.
Absolutely, I agree.
So the person who's on the website looking at this information can get confused thinking that they may have this and may not have it. So is there anything that's directly linked so that somebody said, this sounds like what I have, or should they just review the information, speak to their physician, let the physician know that I did look this up and I have the majority of these symptoms?
I would highly recommend patients to do that, to inform themselves. Now, the only problem is today, as it stands, every patient differs. Some patients have more of the pain and stiffness issue. Some patients might have that in addition to recurrent infections, and it is a confusing pictures to their family doctor. The family doctor is really limited on the amount of time that he can spend with his patients. You know, today it's 6 to 15 minutes, and this is such a complex disorder. A lot of times it's just misdiagnosed or just not found.
And that's hard. I mean, we have the internet to our availability now that we can research a lot of conditions on our own. But you said, like earlier we were speaking, the condition can hinder someone as young as 9 years of age?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I have to mention this. There is a genetic predisposition, and there was a phenomenal breakthrough back in 2006, and the experiments are ongoing and the tests are ongoing. I would say literally within the next 5 years, we'll have a simple blood test. Today we have a simple blood test for lupus. Tomorrow, hopefully, we'll have a simple blood test for fibromyalgia. So that is exciting. But it's just a predisposition. I have sets of twins in the practice. One has it, one doesn't.
Wow.
One has it, one doesn't. On the other hand, I have a whole family. They come into my office from Toronto. The mom has it, the 14-year-old daughter has it, and the 9-year-old son has it.
Okay.
So you can't really predict if it's going to impact the whole family or just an individual, but we do see this.
Okay. Okay. Well, Dr. Mustafa, we're going to take a break, and ladies and gentlemen, we are definitely going to come back with some more important information in reference to fibromyalgia and fatigue center. We'll be right back.
Oh my!
And welcome back to the second half of the show. For those of you who are just now joining us, we have Dr. Mustafa, who is the staff physician at the Fibromyalgia and Fatigue Center Incorporated here in the state of Michigan. Now, let me say this now. Dr. Mustafa came about by way of, we have a staff member here at the Just Dance Foundation who has this chronic disease, his fiance, and her outcry to me was that people don't understand. So I called around, got the information, found out that Dr. Mustafa was more than willing to come and see us today to enlighten us on what this condition is. And we do have a local center here in the state of Michigan, in the Troy area, that can assist people with such a condition. So we want to encourage you to listen up. If you have a question or whatever, feel free to call the station, 248-988-0250. We'll be glad to forward any information to Dr. Mustafa and the Fibromyalgia and Fatigue Center. So I wanted to get that out because viewers will be watching saying, wow, some of those symptoms sound like something I have, or yep, I have a family member that just recently been diagnosed. They didn't know where to go. And that was the thing. One of our staff people here, fiance has the condition, and mainly she didn't know where to go. Okay, so I did a little research, and I'm glad you came and decided to tell us what we need to know. So I wanted to ask you, what causes fibromyalgia?
Well, the cause is not known, and there's ongoing research about that. But what we do know is patients that have fibromyalgia have an enhanced pain sensitivity based on their central nervous system. That is known. That's why new medications are being researched. Medication came out just recently, FDA approved, which is pregabalin or Lyrica. Fibromyalgia patients have what's called a neuropathic type of pain. And this is interesting in the fact that our muscles are the largest consumer of energy in our body. Okay. And our patients wake up with morning stiffness, and if they do activity, it exacerbates their pain and stiffness because the muscle is using a lot of energy.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
But why is it so difficult to actually know what causes? I mean, they don't have any particular
They have a lot of theories. I'll
screenings.
give you
Okay.
they have a lot of theories. Number one, we see a hypothalamic pituitary dysfunction, and that's addressed. When a patient comes in, we do very sophisticated blood tests. We see endocrine imbalances. We see nutritional deficiencies. We may see gastrointestinal problems. Of course, the sleep disorder, the depression. I can go on and on. Let me just explain the depression for just a moment, because that's a good point. And a lot of patients come in already taking antidepressants. We know for a fact that pituitary is in the brain.
Right.
And the pituitary sends signals through all the endocrine glands of the body. And there's a dysfunction that goes on. Okay. We know there are neurochemical, these are things that we do know. Now, this is not the cause of fibromyalgia, but we know it exists in our patients. There are neurochemical changes that occur in the brain, and this can lead to depression. So there are certain things that we do know, and we address and we treat.
Okay. Okay. What about fatigue? How do you treat fatigue?
That's a very good question, very good question. Our patients have what's called a mitochondrial dysfunction. And a patient will say, well, what's the mitochondrial, Dr. Mustafa? I tell them, it's a tiny little organelle in every single cell of your body. There are hundreds of them per cell. The mitochondria is the energy producer of the body.
Okay.
If you're not getting enough oxygen and nutrients inside the cell to the mitochondria, pretend it's your muscle cell. Your muscle cell contracts slightly. You have that different type of pain, the neuropathic type of pain. Pretend that the oxygen and nutritional support cannot enter your brain cell, the brain fog. You lose that sharpness and quickness, and you can't concentrate, and you're easily distracted and forgetfulness. So mitochondria is extremely important.
So let me ask you this. So exercise is not a good thing for a person who's fatigued? I mean, I know fatigue, in our terms, fatigue is tired. Just like, oh, I can't hardly get up. So if you're treating it, is it being treated with medication, or is it being treated neurologically? How's it done?
That's a very good question. Exercise is important, but in the following respect, you have to be in tune with your body. If you have consequences to your exercise, we call that post-exertional malaise, increased stiffness, increased muscle pain. For example, patient can walk 5 minutes without having increased stiffness. We'll say, well, increase that to 8 minutes or 10 minutes, or it's a slow process of improving. But if you go out and do a lot physically and it makes your symptoms worse, then you say, no, I can't do that much. You have to become in tune with what you're able of doing.
Do you recommend any particular exercise, or the person should weigh it out by what doesn't tire them out?
That's part of the evaluation. When the patient comes in, initially, we have a 24-page questionnaire and a comprehensive physical examination and very sophisticated blood tests. Every individual is different, and the treatment program is individualized. It's a very comprehensive treatment program. So I really cannot say in every patient what I would do. It depends on how they respond, how they present to me.
Now, what makes your facility, the Fibromyalgia Center, different from any other?
We take the time to review all of the past medical history that has been done. Okay. And as I said before, patients have been to the Mayo Clinic, have been to the Cleveland Clinic, have been to University of Michigan, and have been told, well, this is as much as we can do. Besides that, we do a very comprehensive physical examination and very sophisticated blood tests. We look for pituitary dysfunction, hypothalamic dysfunction, adrenal dysfunction. There's something in layman's term called adrenal fatigue, and a lot of patients are aware of this. Our center is different in the fact that we spend an hour with the patient.
Okay, because like you said, each individual case is different. It varies in
Absolutely.
in style or services that may be needed. So you do need to take the time and find out from that person exactly what their functional level is, precondition level, where the fatigue fits in at, where the pain level may be most
Exactly.
endurance. But I want to ask you this before we take a break. When you say children have it, how in the world can, I mean, a child can say I'm in pain, but how would it come about for it to be diagnosed that a child has this?
And it's very difficult because most times children are labeled as having growing pains. It's very common.
Correct.
But when you have a child that is unable to do activity, playing outside with,
Okay.
coming back in and has severe muscle aches and stiffness and pain. Patients that have fibromyalgia understand it. Children don't.
Right.
And that's the difficulty. Now, I have patients ranging in the age from 9 to 84. And it's interesting, they all present uniquely. You made an interesting point, Marcia. For example, there are different stressors that can exacerbate the fibromyalgia. Internal stressors,
Okay.
bacterial infection, a viral infection, a fungal infection. It could be metal toxicity. It could be a coagulation defect. External stressors in life. People know there are 5 major stresses in life: death in the family, divorce, losing your job, moving, or having an accident. And people say, well, everybody has stresses in life. Our patients react differently to stress. It exacerbates their problems.
Okay. Well, I tell you, Dr. Mustafa, you have a wealth of information here. We're going to take a break. We're going to hurry back so we can wrap up with some more information about fibromyalgia and fatigue center. We'll be right back.
Do you know that stroke targets by color? If you're African American, you're twice as likely to suffer a stroke as white Americans. Join the power to end stroke at strokeassociation.org.
And welcome back to the last half of the show. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but I've been highly educated today about fibromyalgia and fatigue. A lot of times you do have symptoms and conditions that you have no knowledge about. And here at Just Ask, we try to enlighten you on that. So if you have a question, feel free to drop me an email at marsha@justasktalkshow.org or go to our website, justasktalkshow.org, or give me a call, 248-988-0250. Now, believe it or not, I return the calls, okay? So I do want to let you know that, like I said earlier, Dr. Mustafa came by to enlighten us, and once again, we have been enlightened and educated on a condition that is creeping up on us rapidly, and we don't even know it. So there's a lot of people at home saying, what is this I have? If you have questions or concerns, drop us a line. We'll forward the information to Dr. Mustafa. She's going to give us some more information right now about an upcoming event. What do you have coming up pretty soon?
I am so pleased that we are able to provide educational seminars. And it's free.
Okay.
And what we do, next one is scheduled for October the 21st. It's 6:30 p.m. at our center. And I highly recommend not just potential patients or patients, family members. Because if the family can understand physiologically what's going on with their loved ones, they're better able to work well together in order to take care of this problem.
Okay, okay. So we're going to encourage viewers, if you have a family member, friend, relative of any sort, you as well as them should come together, get educated on this condition, and so everybody can be on the same page, because most of the time a patient can have something, a person can have something, the family has no clue. Well, she's always just crying, she's always complaining, and they don't see it because it's a condition you can't see.
And that's a big problem.
Okay, and so every time you look at a person, well, she looks good, but this
Exactly
is an
right.
internal situation.
Exactly
Okay,
right.
okay. So, and a lot of things are internal. Okay,
Exactly.
and so to me, Dr. Mustafa, sometimes somebody says, "Well, I have cancer." You believe them because you don't know where it's at, and you're like, "Poor thing, she has cancer." Any condition somebody tell you they have, you shouldn't have to be able to see it. If they tell you they have it, that's that.
That's a wonderful analogy. And you know what, Marcia? I'm going to use that in my next seminar.
Okay, all right, I'll be there. Okay, now, you know what, I want to backtrack a little bit. How was the Fibromyalgia and Fatigue Center founded? We don't know.
It's very interesting. Our founder is Bob Bowers, and he suffered for years with fibromyalgia. Went all across the country, spending thousands of dollars for physicians in order to find a treatment for his fibromyalgia. He finally found a doctor in California who successfully treated his fibromyalgia. He said, this is something that the public needs to be aware of. He started the centers. We have 14 centers now across the country. Across the country, it's about 85% success rate. Our center, we're very lucky.
Okay.
Half of our employees are successfully treated patients. We work as a team. We communicate. We educate. We have a 90% success rate.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I get patients from the whole Midwest, from Minnesota, from Iowa, from Illinois, from Wisconsin, from Ohio, from Canada. And I'm glad that we're available to them. But the people in Michigan should really get educated on what's available for good treatment.
Okay. Okay. So we know we have a date coming up, October 21st.
Correct.
At 6:30 p.m.
Correct.
At the Troy facility.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, give us a call so we can get that information to you. Let me ask you about these beautiful brochures here. Now, this goes to show you that men have these conditions as well as women. So don't get it confused that, hey, this is a female disease. Or is it considered a disease? What do they call it?
It's not considered a disease.
Okay.
It's considered a syndrome.
Okay, syndrome. Okay, and I like to be corrected because in the event when someone has something, the word disease sometimes sounds a little harsh.
Yes.
And so, you know, what we're coming up with is that we like to ask what it is so that we don't confuse somebody and automatically put the negative connotation on it. Oh, she's got this disease. No, it's not. Okay? So once again, I want you to know men do have the same condition as women now. Don't feel like they don't. So this would be the male brochure, right?
Correct.
Okay, okay. And this one here. Now I'm going to show this one in a small form. So Dr. Mustafa, if someone was to call, they could get these brochures sent to them
Yes,
to
they
learn
could.
more about
Yes, they could.
the facility itself and the condition.
Yes, they could, or they could always Google online fibromyalgia
Okay.
to get more information.
That's what we did. Okay. And so look at this lady's face here, guys. I mean, I might change, but it was the same thing. But look at this lady's face here. And that question mark on her face to me is like, you know, am I in this alone? You know, is there anyone else like me? Okay. So they don't have to be truthful about if this is an actor or not, but principally what I'm saying is that the person who's feeling this feels alone, and you don't want to be alone in any condition, and so you want to find out more about any symptoms, side effects, something that relates to how you're feeling every day. What does it relate to? What about this one here? This is nice. Today, fibro and fatigue.
We make this newsletter and send it out to patients.
Okay.
It's made, has different information in it on a monthly basis, and it's pretty comprehensive. Educational. Education is so important.
Now, you know, I'm going to turn over to the back because it has a recipe on the back. You know how we feel about food around here. So there's a pancake delight recipe. So if you want to call and get the newsletter, can they call and get a newsletter?
Absolutely,
as well?
yes.
And, you know, and learn about something good to eat without some of the stuff that may be contributing to
The fibromyalgia.
the fibromyalgia. Quick question. What about holistic care? Because a lot of stuff we do, we want to know, can we avoid taking
That's one of the
pills or something?
Absolutely, and that's one of the unique treatment plans in our centers. We make use of both traditional medicine and complementary medicine, acupressure, acupuncture, NAET, nutritional support, natural hormone replacement therapy.
Okay.
So that is definitely part of our treatment program.
Okay, that's wonderful. Yeah, because a lot of people are not into a lot of medication. Some people say, well, I'll start off taking it, but I don't want to keep taking this all my life. So,
I agree.
you know.
But we don't expect them to take it their whole life.
Okay.
Our goal is to get the person to a maintenance program. In the maintenance program, it's a minimal amount of either medications or nutritional support where they have no symptoms and they get on with their life, a normal life, an active life, and discharge them from our service. You know, our goal, get you well, treat the underlying problems, get you well, and get you on the maintenance program. And that's why it's so important to learn physiologically what is happening in your body so you can better able to take care of yourself in the future. Now, I have kids in the practice. We're talking young kids to young teens to early 20s. I want them to be able to learn how they're going to take care of themselves over the next 30, 40, 50, 60 years.
Right.
It's important.
That's good to know, because really, when you said you had, you know, patients young as 9 years old, that's heart-wrenching, because how are you going to play sports? How are you going to be active?
You can't.
Right, you
You
know, and
can't.
always knowing that, you know, you're in some type of pain or stress.
You know what else is important? These children. I have had children come to me. The physicians give them things for pain: lidocaine, Demerol, codeine, morphine.
Too young.
Just
Too young for that body.
Too
Yeah.
young. I had one young girl, 17 years old, had a whole list of pain medications. She came in to me almost like a zombie. Her mom and dad said, from Indiana, could you please do something? And I worked closely with her family doctor, and we got her off of all that stuff, treated the underlying problem for fibromyalgia. I don't see her anymore.
Great.
That's important. Medicine is just a Band-Aid. Pain medication is a Band-Aid. Sleep aids are a Band-Aid. You know, all these things. Well, you know, my stomach's, well, take this. You know, well, you go to your family doctor, and it's not their fault because they're really limited on the amount of time that they can
Treat the person.
treat the person with.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Wow.
But no, these are all Band-Aids. Treat the underlying problem so you don't have to take this stuff.
And learn more nutritional values along the way so
Absolutely.
that you
And
know
that's part of our
what
program.
triggers it off or what
Absolutely.
can make it kind of hard for you to go on with your day.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, Dr. Mustafa, like I said, you came in today like a storm, and it was wonderful because, once again, we always get caught up with people trying to figure out where to go and what to do. One other question I have before we close is that are there volunteers involved with the program of any sort? I mean, there's a lot of people who always like to know.
Not at this point in time.
Okay.
We're still at the point where we're trying to disseminate the information. We still battle people that say, well, there's nothing wrong with this patient, or there is, you know, they look physically well, or all their lab tests are normal. We still have a battle going on, but things are changing, and that's exciting. That's exciting right now. Again, our goal is to treat the underlying problems and then discharge them from the service. One thing that I want patients to be aware of, number one, it does exist, and now the government, the CDC, Center for Disease Control, says yes, this does exist. Number two, it is treatable. There is hope. There is hope. 90% of my patients are discharged from my service. That's incredible. People that have had fibromyalgia for 10, 20, 30 years. It's joyous to see these people getting back their lives. I have to give you just one quick example. 80-some-year-old gentleman. He was ill since 1962 in the Navy. 1962.
Wow.
Now, I no longer see him. His pain is, everything is gone. His wife can't keep up with him. He's joined senior golf, senior softball, and this is my goal.
Okay. Well, Dr. Mustafa, your goal is definitely being met every day, and we hope here at Just Ask that we can be some assistance.
Thank
getting
you
this
so
word
much.
out.
Thank you so much for helping to get out this information.
All right. Well, thank you, and please join us again.
I will.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know who I am. I'm your host, Marsha Florence with Just Ask. Once again, give us a call, drop us an email, whatever it takes to get to us so we can get back to you. I'm your host, Marsha Florence with Just Ask, and what do I always say? If you know someone with a disability, or if you just have a general question, don't be afraid to ask. Just ask. I'm your host, Marsha Florence. Thank you.